The grid went dark 6 days ago. You're moving through the outskirts of a mid-sized city, maybe 40 miles from where home used to be. You're low on water. You're low on options. And then you see it. Rising out of the tree line like a concrete cathedral, razor wire gleaming in the sun, 12-foot fences, guard towers with 360 views of every approach, reinforced concrete walls 8 to 12 inches thick, the kind of walls that laugh at small arms fire. A prison. And your brain does the thing every brain does in that moment. It whispers, that right there is a fortress. And honestly, from the outside, it looks like one. Walls that could stop a vehicle, fences that would shred anyone trying to climb over, choke points at every entrance, elevated observation posts. If you design a survival compound from scratch, you'd probably end up with something that looks a whole lot like a correctional facility. But what most people don't realize, what almost nobody talks about when they daydream about occupying a prison post-collapse, is this. A prison isn't a fortress. A prison is a machine, and that machine requires fuel. Constant, uninterrupted fuel in the form of trucks, electricity, water pressure, and a functioning government writing checks. The second that fuel stops flowing, the machine doesn't just turn off, it turns on the people inside it. That's the part worth understanding, and we're going to tear this whole idea apart, piece by piece, the good, the bad, and the parts that'll make you rethink everything you thought you knew about concrete walls and survival. Stick around for the water section, by the way. That one changes the whole equation. So let's start with the thing that catches everyone's eye first. The walls. Those beautiful, thick, reinforced concrete walls. They stop bullets. They stop weather. They stop crowds. What they don't stop is starvation. Here's what most people don't know. The average state or federal prison keeps roughly 3 to 5 days of food on site at any given time. That's it. 3 to 5 days. For a facility designed to hold 1,000, sometimes 2,000 people. Every calorie that enters that building arrives on a truck, sometimes multiple trucks per day. When those trucks stop rolling, you don't have a fortress, you have a concrete box full of hungry people. And if you've ever seen what hunger does to group dynamics in a confined space, you already know where that story ends. During Hurricane Katrina in 2005, inmates at Orleans Parish Prison were left locked in cells for days. No food, no clean water, sewage backing up through the floors. Guards walked off the job, not because they were bad people, but because they had families too. The system didn't slowly degrade. It collapsed like a house of cards in a wind tunnel. And that was a regional disaster, a temporary one. Now imagine grid down, nationwide, no timeline for recovery. Now let's talk about what I call the invisible killer, disease. This is the part people skip over because it's not cinematic. Nobody makes movies about dysentery. But dysentery doesn't care about your movie. According to CDC data, infectious disease rates inside prisons run 3 to 10 times higher than in the general population, even under normal operating conditions, with functioning plumbing, with medical staff, with cleaning supplies. COVID proved this in real time. Infection rates inside prisons were 5.5 times higher than outside. That's with a functioning healthcare system backing them up. Take away the antibiotics, take away the clean water, take away the ventilation systems that require electricity to run. And you don't have a shelter, you have a petri dish with a fence around it. And now the piece that actually breaks the whole fantasy. Water. This is the one I told you to wait for. Most prisons are connected to municipal water supplies. They don't have wells. They don't have springs. They have pipes. Pipes that require pumping stations, which require electricity, which requires a functioning grid. Some facilities have backup generators. Great. Those generators run for 48 to 72 hours on stored fuel. After that, you've got a concrete compound with no running water, no flushing toilets, and whatever's in the water heater tanks. For 1,000 people. Do the math. It's not pretty. I've actually looked into whether any decommissioned prisons sit on natural water sources. A handful do. The vast majority don't. If you're genuinely considering a correctional facility as a bug-out location, and I know some of you are, water sourcing is the first question you need to answer. And for most facilities, the answer is a deal breaker. Now here's where I have to be fair, because this isn't a hit piece. Prisons do have real, genuine advantages that deserve honest evaluation. The physical security infrastructure is no joke. Those walls, those fences, those choke points, they work. If you could solve the supply problem, the defensive geometry of a prison is genuinely superior to almost any civilian structure. Guard towers give you elevated observation that would cost you tens of thousands of dollars to build from scratch. The compartmentalized layout, cell blocks, corridors, sally ports, these create natural defensive layers. If a section is breached, you fall back to the next one. Military planners call this defense in depth. Most homes give you one layer. A prison gives you 5 or 6. Some prisons also have industrial kitchens, infirmaries with basic surgical capability, laundry facilities, and workshops with tools. Real tools, welding equipment, metal fabrication, woodworking. In a long-term collapse, that infrastructure has enormous value. The commissary and kitchen storage, even if it's only a few days' worth, gives you a running start while you figure out your next move. Some larger facilities have land around them, open fields, originally designed as buffer zones for security, but those fields could become farmland. Could. So the honest answer isn't prisons are death traps, and it isn't prisons are perfect bunkers. The honest answer is conditional, and the conditions are specific. A prison works as a survival location if, and only if, you can solve 3 problems simultaneously: water sourcing independent of municipal supply, food production or reliable resupply, and group management with a legitimate authority structure. Fail on any one of those 3, and the walls that were supposed to protect you become the walls that trap you. And that third one, group management, that's the silent variable nobody wants to talk about. Who's in charge? In a functioning prison, the answer is clear. There's a warden, there's a chain of command, there's the implicit threat of the entire legal system backing up every order. Remove that legal system, and authority becomes a negotiation, sometimes a violent one. Every historical example of confined groups under extreme stress, from shipwrecks to sieges to, yes, prison riots, shows the same pattern. Without legitimate authority, power vacuums fill fast, and they fill with whoever is most willing to use force. Attica, 1971. 43 people dead in 4 days, and that was with the National Guard available to restore order. In a true collapse, there is no National Guard coming. Here's the thing most prepper forums get wrong. They imagine arriving at an empty, decommissioned prison with their group and setting up shop. Clean scenario, no existing population, no power struggle. And sure, in that specific fantasy, it's more viable. But how many decommissioned prisons are conveniently located near your bug-out route, sitting empty and unsecured with nobody else having the same idea? The answer, in most cases, is 0. And if the prison is still operational when things go sideways, you're not getting in. Or worse, you're getting in and you can't get out. There's a saying that keeps rattling around in my head whenever this topic comes up. The best shelter in the world is still a grave if you can't leave it. Walls protect and walls imprison. The only difference is which side of the lock you're on. Now, if you're genuinely scouting locations, and I know some of you do this, what you actually want isn't a prison. What you want is the principles a prison uses applied to a location you control. Defense in depth, choke points, elevated observation, compartmentalized zones. You can build all of that into a rural property with natural water access and arable land. It won't look as impressive as 12-foot concrete walls, but it'll keep you alive longer. Because survival isn't about the thickness of your walls, it's about the sustainability of your systems. That's the real lesson hidden inside the prison fantasy. Everyone fixates on defense because defense feels powerful. It feels like control. But defense without supply is just a slow siege against yourself. The people who survive long-term collapses throughout history, and we have centuries of data on this, aren't the ones with the thickest walls. They're the ones who can feed themselves, hydrate themselves, and maintain social cohesion under pressure. Walls are a tool. Water is life. Food is time. And trust, real trust built before the crisis, is the most underrated survival resource on the planet. So the next time you drive past a correctional facility and your brain starts building that fantasy, let it play out. But play it all the way through. Past the cool walls, past the razor wire, into day 8 when the water's gone, into day 15 when the food's gone, into day 30 when the sickness starts. That's where the fantasy dies, and that's where real planning begins. If you found this useful, drop a comment. I want to hear from you. Have you actually scouted a location like this? Decommissioned facility? Old military base? Something similar? What did you find when you got there? I genuinely want to know, because every real-world report is worth more than 100 Reddit threads. And if this is the kind of knowledge you want to keep showing up in your feed, hit subscribe, because the algorithm buries this stuff fast, and the next video might be the one that actually changes how you prepare. You never know which piece of information becomes the one that matters most.